Morning. I've been asked to tell you a story, and as Jean said, this is a story that's often considered a true community success, and one that hopefully we can all learn from and replicate. It's a story about how this community rallied around another major issue, not unlike the one we're talking about today. But I am going to ask you to change your focus for a moment from the aging population to considering, as Jean said, the issue of quality early childhood education. And I think as I talk, you're going to see a number of similarities to some of the issues and concerns that we've already heard about this morning. But this story begins in the early 1990s. And at the time, the issue of child care, I think much like the need for aging services, seemed to only be relevant to the families that needed those services. And the importance of quality early education generally was not on the radar screen of public officials or civic leaders or the business community. But for those that were focused on the issue of child care, they knew that literally thousands of children of working parents spent a large number of their waking hours in child care. And that, much like the rest of the nation, the child care in Kansas City was mediocre at best. And not unlike the situation with elderly services, regardless of whether you had the money, you couldn't necessarily find the services and programs that specifically met your family's needs. So what happened next? Well, what occurred was some compelling new national research about children's brain development. And what it said was that the first few years of a child's life had a major impact on their overall brain development. It virtually told us that if we wanted our children to enter kindergarten ready to learn and to prepare them both for success in school and in life, that it was critical that they have high quality learning experiences during the earliest years. So armed with this new data, a very small group of community leaders emerged and began an initiative to build a high quality early education system in metropolitan Kansas City. Now, this group started by educating other stakeholders, and over time, they built a large collaborative, and these included funders, service providers, business leaders, educators, and state agencies. And this partnership proposed a truly bold community vision and developed a set of key programs that research said were going to change the outcomes for our kids. One of the measurements for success, and it was important to this group to be able to measure their success, and one of their measurements was national accreditation, something that Jean mentioned earlier. And the group set a truly daunting goal, and I have to tell you that at the time this goal was put out in the public, many of us really gasped, because what we said was that we would build quality in our programs such that we would have 100 nationally accredited child care centers. And at the time, national accreditation was really considered sort of the top in terms of quality early education. And as I said, there was a lot of rolling of the eyes when that goal was put forward, because we only had 15 nationally accredited centers when we started. So to improve our system and to help centers gain this kind of national standard, there were several strategies put forward. Jean mentioned and Jim mentioned the issue of having a qualified workforce. Well, that was really true about the child care issue as well. And so a number of the strategies focused on improving the training and the education of the child care workforce and increasing the number of teachers that had degrees in early education. There were also compensation initiatives to help increase salaries and benefits for degree teachers and enable centers to really retain the most qualified staff. And there were strategies that were put forward to improve the program quality and grants that were given to child care centers and homes in order to improve their curriculums and upgrade their facilities. Now, financial supports for these programs came from a wide range of funders, and those included groups like the Kauffman Foundation, Francis Families Foundation, Hall Family Foundation, United Way, and state and federal grants. Another component that was really important to the success of this initiative was the involvement of the business community. And fortunately, several corporate leaders really took up this cause. And they recognized, as we hope they will do also about aging issues, the impact that inadequate childcare had on the productivity of their employees, and for childcare also on the quality of their future workforce. So the Chamber and the Civic Council took up the issue and put childcare on their legislative agenda. They advocated in Topeka and Jeff City for regulations that supported quality and also increased overall funding for childcare. And a number of businesses like Hallmark, Bank of America, Citicorp funded particular components of the initiative. And then a number of other companies really looked internally and developed family-friendly policies that really recognized, as Jim was talking about earlier, recognized the childcare needs of their employees. So one of the beauties and the successes of this really large, and I would emphasize it became a very large, multifaceted initiative, was that really everyone did what they did best and advocated for change where they had their own circle of influence. But to keep all of these efforts sort of organized and focused, we really had to have a master plan. We needed a lot of coordination, and we also had evaluation on multiple levels. And fortunately, much of that was housed at and accomplished by the Metropolitan Council on Early Learning at MARC. Now, I won't kid you, projects of this magnitude take time. We often said as this program progressed and we were seeing success, that this was an overnight success that actually took 10 years. But I would say that with persistence and patience, we were, as a community, able to bring together a diverse and sometimes unlikely set of partners and to mobilize the resources that we needed to create a coordinated system of high-quality care. And not only did we meet that goal of 100 accredited centers, but we exceeded it. And at the peak of the initiative, there were more than 140 nationally accredited centers in Kansas City. So I would contend that there's a lot of similarities between this child care story and the need for quality aging programs. Much like the early days of the child care effort, we're fortunate to have some initial champions for our community's concern about aging. And as with child care, we have compelling data to urge us on to action. And we have knowledgeable program providers that are anxious to advance our system of services. I'd say that for the younger folks in the audience, that you may have more in common with the child care story than with issues on aging. But as you've already heard this morning, I tell you from my personal experience that frankly in a blink of an eye, you go from getting the phone call that says your child's fallen from the jungle gym to getting the phone call I got recently that my mom had fallen in her assisted living facility and needed to go to the hospital for stitches. It's important, I think, therefore, that each of us educate ourselves and do what we can, when we can, and where we can, so that when the services and programs, when those services and programs that we need, that they're there. So I thank you all for coming, for listening to all of us, and challenge each of us to become better informed advocates for change, because together we can truly make a difference, and we've done it before.